Welcome to an episode of Chat Sports Talk. Welcome to Rivalry Week here on the 2025 college football season. This is pretty much the last regular season game outside of Army-Navy. This is like the final leg to find out who's going to make it to the conference championship games. Final push for building up their resumes for college football playoff. And a lot of key matchups going on this week. I was looking at possibly, I think, like 17 different matchups to look at and had to painstakingly go through and find out which 12 I will put forth for you today. Each one of the 12 either has a playoff resume building aspect or something to do with that conference's championship game. I'll also go over what I did last week, quick little synopsis. I'll go over the new college football playoff poll ranking, my new PowerPoint index, and then dive into week 14. So let's jump back on DeLorean and head back to last week. Week 13, I presented you 10 games. It was kind of a short week, so a little hard to kind of pinpoint some games in there, but I did come up with 10 games, and I actually won 7 of them. Seems to be a kind of recurring theme where I only get like a portion of the games, but it is what it is. One of the things I have to correct when I was talking about Missouri and Oklahoma, I thought the freshman quarterback was going to be started. No, Fibula was actually back. Didn't make a difference. Oklahoma still won. SMU was very dominant over Louisville, putting their stake in for that ACC championship bid. Still got one more game to go. I call it for USC to upend Oregon. Oregon came to play against USC. I thought Georgia Tech would beat Pitt. Pitt came in there like a freed, caged animal and just took care of the Yellow Jackets, eliminated them from ACC play. I pick Kennesaw State over Missouri State. No issues. Kennesaw State now in the running for a bid for the Conference USA Championship. I picked TCU over Houston. You know, that was a upset bid right there. Louisiana, or LSU, beat Western Kentucky, and I knew it was going to be close. Western Kentucky did not disappoint in that aspect. I called for BYU to win in the grasslands of Cincinnati against the Bearcats. The Friday night matchup between UNLV and Hawaii, I called for UNLV to win that one, and of course they did. And then that Jacksonville State and Florida National, I called for the Gamecocks to win, but FIU showed up. And Jacksonville State seems to be my other version of Arizona, because every time I go, seems like when against them they win, and when I pick them they lose. So I don't know what's going on with that with that in me, and it's just it's frustrating where I got a couple of schools that doesn't matter how I pick them, I lose that game. I don't know, but anyways, but there you go. That was the 10 games. I get quick snap, down dirty, 7-3. The CFP after that week. Yeah, there's a few chaoses. 3 teams that was in it bowed out. As soon as they showed up, they disappeared. That was Illinois, Missouri, and Houston. This week's newcomer, Arizona, comes at 25. Tulane maintains at 24. Georgia Tech drops 7 to 23. Pitt and SMU come back into the poll. Arizona State up 5 to number 20. Tennessee up 1, Virginia up 1. USC only dropped 2 because they put up a very good fight against Oregon, and they maintained that. Texas only up 1, Michigan up 3, Vandy maintained. Utah, Miami switched. Then BYU, Bama, Notre Dame, Oklahoma all maintain. Oregon, UMass switch, and then the top 5. Nothing transpired between them. They stayed the same. Now heading to my point index poll. Once again, this is a point system. Only one team dropped out of my top 25. That was Houston. SMU comes in at 25. Wake moves up one. Same thing with Arizona State. Georgia Tech and USC both dropped 10 positions off their losses. Vanderbilt up 3. Tulane goes up 2. Utah up 1. North Texas maintains. James Madison up 4. Jumps up to 15. And Virginia maintains at 14. Miami up 4 to 13. Notre Dame up 1. Oklahoma jumps 4. Alabama only drops 1. But, they took on Eastern Illinois. So that's the reason why they dropped, even though they won. Michigan's up 3 to number 9. Ole Miss dropped 1. Texas Tech dropped 1. Oregon leapfrogs both of them up 2. Georgia and BYU switched. And A&M went from number 1 to number 3 because they took on FCS opponents. And then Indiana and Ohio State are my top 2. So now my top 3 mimics the AP and Coaches Bowl. Let's kick things off on Friday. Friday's going to have a huge selection of games for your enjoyment. There's only one NFL game that day, but everything else is all college football. And we kick off with the good old-fashioned hate between Georgia and Georgia Tech. Now, this has no bearing to any conference standings whatsoever. This is more of a padding for Georgia's resume. Because if they win this one, they're in the playoffs. They're more likely a top 4 seed, and they'll get that first-round bye. This is basically what Georgia has to play for. Georgia Tech, it would be nice to have a nice 10-win season. Unfortunately, they might get their third loss, drop out of the playoff picture, and find themselves with a decent bowl. Now, this game's actually been played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so a neutral site, even though it's in Hotlanta anyways. But Athens, Georgia is not that far away from Atlanta, so it's not really much of a neutral site, is it? Stockton for the Bulldogs over 2,400 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 4 picks. Frazier's at that backfield for 700 and 5 touchdowns. King, focal point of this Yellow Jacket offense, 2,500 yards passing, over 880 yards rushing, combined 27 touchdowns and 4 picks. And looking at some of the aspects of how these teams operate, Georgia Tech has lost 2 of the past 3 weeks. And it's disconcerting. They even had trouble against Boston College during that 3-week stretch. Then you look at how Georgia has kind of, when they manhandled Texas, were able to muscle pass Mississippi State, survive bids from Florida and Ole Miss. Georgia is poised. And with that one conference loss right now kind of sitting on top, things could kind of placate differently with the aspects of the following week, because you still have the Iron Bowl between Alabama and Auburn. If Alabama wins that one, they're in. As long as A&M can maintain and win their game, but more on that one later. Don't want to get too ahead of myself. So Georgia's maybe looking for another stay in Mercedes-Benz. We'll have to see what transpires from there. But in this matchup, analytics likes Georgia 87% right now. The line is favoring the Bulldogs at 13.5. I'm not pushing back on any of that. I do think Georgia is going to be too much for Tech in this matchup. Then we head to Albuquerque as the 8-3 Lobos take on the 9-2 San Diego State Aztecs in a key Mountain West showdown. San Diego State, if they win this, they are in the Mountain West Championship and more likely hosting said championship. New Mexico is part of that collaboration of teams that are battling in the Mountain West, along with Boise State and UNLV. And this one's a little kind of low, because right now it looks like Boise State's favored in their matchup against Utah State, and UNLV is heavily favored against Nevada. All three there are favored to win. San Diego State and Boise State and UNLV all win, and San Diego State and Boise State in the championship. But if New Mexico upends San Diego State, and of course Boise State and UNLV wins, that's a whole convoluted mess with 4 teams battling for it. So what's going to have to happen is that San Diego State needs to step up to the plate, and they've had some issues being in there. I mean, that loss against that embarrassing loss to Hawaii, and then they struggled against Boise State. But their offense has been kind of struggling. I mean, they struggled last week against San Jose State, only scored 25, like a lopsided baseball game. But New Mexico's also been struggling the past few weeks, but they had that key win over UNLV. And the Aztecs are led by Denegal with over 1,600 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 7 picks. Sutton, the key aspect, over 1,100 yards coming out of that backfield, 9 touchdowns. Lane for the Lobos, over 2,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 9 picks. Bankston out of that backfield, 520, 5 touchdowns. That San Diego State offense needs to generate buzz, needs to get back there. But New Mexico State's defense will make this tough for them. And I think New Mexico is going to have a fighting chance against San Diego State. Because you just look at some of the game, I mean, the way they handled UNLV and their potent offense. But New Mexico has been playing very, very close games. And I think San Diego State's one of these teams you can keep close without them taking over, unless they can come out of the gates gangbusters like Hawaii did. Analytics, like San Diego State, slightly 52%. The line's at 1.5. They recognize that, yeah, this will be a very tight matchup, and I do believe so as well. But I am taking San Diego State to win on the road and punch their ticket to the Mountain West Championship. Another key SEC showdown, old-time rivalries, flare back to life. The old Southwest and Big 12 showdown between the Longhorns, 16th ranked at 8-3, taking on the 3rd ranked undefeated Texas A&M Aggies over there in Austin, Texas. A huge showdown between these two programs with SEC title game on the line. Now, Texas has no horse in the game. The only thing they can do is try to gorge A&M and possibly knock them out of the title shot. And with the SEC, it is a convoluted mess a little bit because A&M wins, it's simple, they're in. Kind of Alabama wins, they're in. But, you know, if it's a we're a conglomeration of things because Georgia still has a shot, but both A&M and Alabama both have to lose for them to really get in because they have the tiebreaker over Ole Miss. And it's a mess. But look at these two young quarterbacks. Reed for the Aggies, over 2,700 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks. Manning, over 2,700 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 7 picks. Very similar quarterbacks. Running backs, Owens for the Aggies, 570 with 5 touchdowns. Wisner, over 440 yards, 3 touchdowns. Very similar offenses. Defenses are very similar. Howell has 11.5 sacks for A&M. Simmons, 10 for the Longhorns. The way they placated the past few weeks, I mean, Texas had that really bad showing against Georgia, struggled against Vanderbilt. Well, I can't say struggle because they dominated Vanderbilt, but then let them come back. Had an overtime win in Mississippi State, overtime win in Kentucky. A&M has not had, they had that scare against South Carolina and had to come from behind to beat them 31-30. Had that slip past Arkansas. So, yeah, A&M has had their scares so far this season, especially these past few weeks. Texas has been kind of living on the edge. Georgia caught them in that matchup. And this is going to be a huge showdown between the two. Right now, analytics favor Texas at 52%. The line likes A&M at 2.5. This is going to be a tough matchup between these two. I debated long and hard, trying to figure out which direction I was going to go with this one because both these teams are very similar. But But I like A&M a little bit better. They seem to be a little bit more consistent in their gameplay than Texas is. But Arch Manning has really grown into that role as leader of this Longhorn offense. And A&M overall has really embraced this team concept and really pushed this, the 12th man aspect over there in College Station to its fruition. But I am going to take A&M edging out the Longhorns to give them that SEC title shot in Atlanta. Let me move to Saturday, and let's kick things off with the game in Ann Arbor, the Big House, as Big Blue, 15th ranked Michigan, 9-2, battled the undefeated number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. These two colliding once again in an annual grudge match between these two programs. It is simple. If Ohio State wins, they're hitting Indianapolis. But if Michigan wins, that changes the whole other aspects as well because of Oregon. There's a lot of these games you kind of notice there's chaos that kind of reigns supreme, and just one domino needs to fall. That's all it needs to do. Much like college realignment, just one domino falls, it wrecks the whole thing. But looking at this, saying for the Buckeyes, over 2,900 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 4 picks. Jackson comes to that backfield over 800 yards, rushing, 5 touchdowns. Underwood, 2,100 yards plus passing, 9 touchdowns, 5 picks. Marshall, key aspect for his Wolverine offense, over 870 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. And this is going to be evident when you look at these past few games as these guys have muscled their way through. And if you looked at Ohio State, they have not been tested in a while. I mean, they rolled Rutgers, UCLA, Purdue, Penn State, Wisconsin. It's been a while since they've been tested. Michigan struggled against Northwestern, been the prevailing. Struggled against Purdue. But it's just one of these things. And if Michigan, if they can win this game and not get into the Big Ten championship, they got themselves a playoff spot more likely. But being 10-2, there's going to be a part of a conglomeration of 10-2 programs. So once again, the whole debate about the playoff system is going to come into question. So many underlying stories just off this matchup. But let's just focus on the winners and losers. 78% analytic favors Ohio State. The line right now is 11.5 favoring the Buckeyes. I know Brian Day has had his problems with Michigan. They cleared that horse, I believe, last year. But looking at like their past games, Ohio State has not really faced anyone that's really tempted them in a while. I mean, Illinois, they throttled. Minnesota, they throttled. Okay, Washington gave them a little scare, and that was all the way back in September, as well as Texas. Those are only 2 tough games they've had all season. They have not really been tested. Because anyone that they faced up, they just knocked down. So this is going to be a huge test for Ohio State. Michigan's going to give them the business. I know they're highly favored. And I'm probably crazy. I'm taking the Wolverines in upset to create the first chaos of this weekend. Now let's head over to Pittsburgh in the Marino Bowl between 22nd ranked Pitt and 12th ranked Miami. Now, the reason why I call it the Marino Bowl, Dan Marino attended the University of Pittsburgh and played his college ball or his pro ball in Miami. So he has ties to both locations. That's why I'm just calling it the Marino Bowl. And this is another huge thing. Miami is kind of sitting outside right now of that mess of teams. There's 3 teams right now, 6-1 in conference play for the ACC, with Pitt being one of them. But with Virginia, SMU, if they both win, they will get in, regardless of what Pitt does today. So Pitt needs to do their part and win this game. And hopefully that Virginia or SMU will struggle. Well, Virginia's taking on Virginia Tech, and SMU has Cal. And I think Virginia is 92% favored to win that matchup. And more on the SMU and Cal game later on. So Pitt needs to win this one and hope for other chaos. So looking at this scenario, Beck leads the Hurricanes over 2,800 yards passing, 22 touchdowns on interceptions. Fletcher comes out of the backfield over 650 yards on the ground, 9 touchdowns. Heinzel, almost 1,900 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 6 picks. Turner over 615 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. Trying to hurry up and just spew this information out for you. Messador leads both teams in sacks with 7 for the Hurricanes. And it's going to be a huge showdown. Analytics overwhelmingly support the Canes at 70%. The Lions at 6.5%. Looking at this particular showdown, I do think Pittsburgh will make this interesting because you kind of look at some of the games they did before. I mean, the way they handled Georgia Tech kind of lets you know that one. But they were able to generate a bunch of offense beforehand until Notre Dame. And Miami's defense has really kind of stepped up the past few weeks. Yeah, they struggled against SMU, and that's what cost them the whole ACC championship. But getting this win could give them some credence for a playoff bid. But I think if Michigan pulls off the opposite, I think Miami can kiss any shot at the playoffs goodbye. But, that's discussion for later. In this scenario, I do kind of like Miami winning in Pittsburgh. I do think it's going to be a little closer than 6.5. I think Pittsburgh should kind of make this a little interesting. Well, they'll make it interesting. I don't think 6.5 is a bad number either. Now I kind of think of it because Miami will bring that defense. Beck should step up and be consistent. Some things he wants so far this season or last year with Georgia, but I like Miami to win this Marino Bowl. And welcome to MAC Nation. Yes, this is I think the only MAC game I've had so far this season. This is a huge showdown between Central Michigan Chippewas and the Toledo Rockets. Both are 7-4 overall, 5-2 in conference play. Trying to see if they can get in to take on Western Michigan, who clinched their spot already with their win on Tuesday for their MAC championship in Detroit. Another one you have to worry about is Miami, Ohio, and Ohio. Both are kind of favored in there. Ohio is about 57%, but Miami is favored at 90%. Toledo needs to win this one. And Toledo kind of has that tiebreaker over Miami. But if Ohio wins, then that's a whole different setup when then that kind of favors Miami into that fixture if all three of them are tied. So, but Toledo's got to do their part first. I mean, that's the whole thing. You got to do your part to create the chaos that's going to happen. And hoping for Buffalo or Ball State to kind of upend the trend. And Buffalo, I think, might have a possibility over Ohio. Pardon. But let's look at this setup. For the Rockets, Gleason leads Toledo's passing over 2,400 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 picks. Trayanum, probably mispronounced the name, but I think it's close. Over 850-plus yards, 10 touchdowns. Pretty good offensive pair. For CMU, Lobos leads with 1,400-plus passing, 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. Flores goes out of the backfield almost at 520, 8 touchdowns. But Heldman for the Chippewas is going to be a havoc for that Toledo backfield because he has 9.5 sacks thus far. And looking at some of the past games, Central Michigan has struggled here and there. I mean, they struggled against Kent, lost to Western. Those are the past 3 weeks. And besides that game to Washington State, Toledo has been pretty dominant. And right now, analytics is all over the Rockets at 80%. Lions at 8.5. I think there's going to be no failure to launch for the Rockets in this game. I do think this should get past Central Michigan and at least try to stake their claim, trying to head to Detroit for the MAC championship. Time to head back to Conference USA in a school that's been giving me trouble the past 2 weeks. Jacksonville State played host to Western Kentucky. This one's simple. Win, and you're in. 3 programs right now are all knotted up, with Kennesaw State being the third wheel in this equation. Now, for this one, it depends on who wins. Because if Jacksonville State wins, they're in, and then it all depends on if Kennesaw State's going to win, and then they're in. But if Kennesaw State loses, Western Kentucky gets in. If they lost, I mean, it's a mess. Kennesaw State, by the way, has a game against Liberty, and I think they're projected by 60% to win that one. We'll kind of see this one. For me, once again, Jacksonville State is going to be the bane of my existence so far, like I said, the past 2 weeks. Every time with these games, it's always been the opposite of what I picked, and I'm always in the losing end. Krell for the Gamecocks, over 1,000-yard passer. Cook, main focus of this offense, 1,400-yard-plus rusher, 14 touchdowns. McIver for the Hilltoppers, over 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 receptions. Parrish comes in the backfield, almost at 460. Defense about the same. I mean, Western Kentucky put up a fight against LSU, but only lost to them by 3 points. I knew that was going to be a tough matchup. Had that close game against Louisiana Tech, only get blown out by Florida International. Prior to that, Jacksonville State knows about Florida International. They upended them after their good win against Kennesaw State the week prior. So I think it's going to be good showdown in Conference today between these two. And right now, analytics likes Jacksonville State at 52%. The line has it at 2.5. I should avoid this game like the plague, because every time I step into the arena with Jacksonville State, the opposite happens. But I'm a glutton for punishment, and I'm taking the Hilltoppers to win, to punch their ticket, and probably host the Conference USA Championship. Now, the Big Ten Northwest Championship. The 6th-ranked Ducks, 10-1, heading to Seattle, taking the 8-3 Huskies. This is an old showdown from the old Pac days, and brought it over to the Big Ten. A lot of things kind of play in this. Because if Michigan upends Ohio State and Oregon wins, Oregon makes it to Indianapolis, especially if Indiana beats Purdue, and I think everyone believes that what should happen. But Washington pulls off the upset. Michigan pulls off the upset, and then Michigan gets to go to Indianapolis. A lot of things play out. And for the Ducks, they have been playing extremely good football. I've dialed in the past few weeks, but they've really stepped up. I mean, they struggled against Wisconsin, but ended up winning by 14. Outmuscled Iowa in a defensive showdown. Blowing out Minnesota. Outplayed USC in a shootout. And for Washington, I mean, they got unbended by Wisconsin and Michigan. Most recently, but otherwise they've been moving steadily quite along. The offense have really placated against Illinois, against Purdue, against UCLA. They had no issues, but I think when Washington's going to take on a superior team, that's when things kind of frustrate them. Moore leads the Ducks passing attack with over 2,400 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 6 picks. Winnington comes out of the backfield, 720+, 6 touchdowns. Williams leads that passing attack for the Huskies, over 2,700 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Coleman, 650+, 14 touchdowns coming out of the backfield. Right now, analytics is all over Oregon, 75%. The line has it at Oregon at 7.5. I like all these options. Like I said, when Washington takes on very quality teams, well-coached teams, they tend to kind of struggle. Michigan and Wisconsin are 2 prime examples. But they can do that, especially when they did against Illinois. But the key wins that Oregon had against USC and Iowa has really elevated their profile. And I think getting this win It's going to be a key evident because they need to win for a chance to get into the Big Ten championship game again. And I don't see any issues. I will take the Ducks in this showdown. Now we head to Norman, Oklahoma, as the 9-2 Sooners play host to the 7-4 LSU Tigers. This one doesn't have any indications for the SEC championship. It's more of padding the schedule for the Sooners and their conference playoff, college football playoff, resume. Yeah, let's get this out. Maybe I need more coffee. LSU, I mean, they struggled against Kentucky, ended up winning. Struggled against Arkansas, won. After, their losing streak they had going in there. And ever since that game against Ole Miss, Oklahoma's been on fire. I mean, that huge win in Tuscaloosa, knocking off Mizzou, edging out Tennessee. Everything is riding high right now for Oklahoma. And being 8th ranked probably means if they win this game, they're going to be in the playoffs. But they need to win. You have to do the next hurdle. Matt Tier, 2,200 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks. Robinson, over 400 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. Nussmeier for the Tigers, over 1,900 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Durham, over 460 yards, and 3 touchdowns coming out of that backfield. That defense for Oklahoma is going to have to be on point against LSU. LSU struggles against good defenses. Analytics likes the Sooners at 74%. The line has it at 10.5. I'm unsure about the line, but at this point in time, I think it's just all about padding that resume, getting in there. And if Oklahoma wins this game, punch their ticket to the playoff, it's going to be a question whether or not they host a first-round game or not. That's kind of where things kind of rack and stack. Being at 8 ranked right now, we'll kind of see. It kind of depends on other games earlier. But I like the Sooners in this one. Then we had the Rocky Top as the Volunteers, 8-3, 19th ranked, take on their in-state rival Commodores, 9-2. Once again, neither one of them have any implication in the SEC championship. Vanderbilt's trying to make their case for the college football playoff. Tennessee, I think, a 3-loss team getting in, there's going to be enough 10-2 teams to keep Tennessee out of the standings, even though they've had some great matchups. But losing to Alabama, losing to Oklahoma, they lose to teams that are already in the playoffs. No need to put them in there. I mean, they've Georgia too. I mean, if those 3 teams get into the playoffs, Tennessee should not, because they lost all 3. And Vanderbilt has some issues as well. I mean, yeah, they had that loss to Texas, but they came back from behind to win that one. They lost to Alabama. When they saw, they struggling at Auburn, they throttled Kentucky, edged out LSU, Mizzou. So they got some things. Pavia is a phenomenal individual. Over 2,900 yards passing, over 660 yards rushing, 34 total touchdowns to 6 picks. Aguilar for the Vols, over 3,100 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 10 picks. Bishop, over 880 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. It's a very balanced Volunteer offense. It's that defense that kind of leads them astray a bit. In the past couple of weeks, their defense has really tightened down, allowing an average of 10 points, where the offense was just humming along. And right now, analytics favors Tennessee at 58%. The line has it at 3.5. The Vanderbilt's having a magical season. I mean, for them to get 10 wins, that would be something they haven't done in forever. I don't think it's been this good since Jay Cutler was their quarterback. That's how long it's been for Vanderbilt so far to have a decent season. And as much as I'll take the Commodores to win in that Rocky Top, I just think it's just too much of a hostile environment. I think Tennessee's offense is too well balanced. They're going to make mistakes. Vanderbilt is a very pesky defense. They will try to be aggressive, try to take care of some advantage, some shortcomings Tennessee has. Tennessee's defense goes to do the same thing to Vanderbilt's. It's going to be a great matchup between these two. I like Tennessee's odds in this one. 3.5. I'm good with that as well. I think Tennessee will be able to edge out and knock off Vanderbilt and disrupt any possibilities of a playoff berth. Now we head to the Sun Belt. Between Troy and Southern Miss, both teams are 7-4, 5-2, sitting on top of that West Division. Yes, the Sun Belt is the only conference that still has divisions. James Madison's already in. They're just waiting the winner in this game. And it's going to be should be a neat showdown. And both teams have kind of struggled the past 3 weeks, both from 1-2. But Southern Miss right now on a 2-game slide, after getting throttled by Texas State and getting edged out by South Alabama. Troy lost to Arkansas State, Old Dominion. Got shut out by Old Dominion, by the way, only to blast Georgia State to get to this particular position in the standings. And the Trojans are led by Gilcrease for 1,400 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 4 picks. Meadows comes out of the backfield over 590, 4 touchdowns. Braxton leads the Golden Eagles with 2,500 yards plus passing. Pittman comes out of the backfield, almost a 590, 8 touchdowns. I think it's going to be a very evenly matched between these two, but I do like Southern Miss's offense slightly more than Troy's. Right now, analytics favor Southern Miss at 57%. The line has it at 6.5. When it comes to this, I do tend to like Southern Miss in this particular. Like I said, I like the offense a little bit more, but I think Southern Miss is going to be able to edge out Troy with a date with James Madison on the line. And then the final game, we'll have to Berkeley with the 6-5 Golden Bears play host to the 21st ranked 8-3 SMU Mustangs. I mentioned it earlier after that Miami and Pitt matchup that SMU is one of these teams that has a vested interest to get in, and they need to do their part. Like I said, Virginia Tech also play as well for the Commonwealth Cup. Between these two, I do think Virginia should have no issues with the Hokies and punch their ticket to Charlotte. SMU needs to get this win to get in, but I think if they lose, there's still possibilities they get in because they got that tiebreaker over Miami anyways. So looking at this scenario, Jennings leads the Mustangs over 3,100 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks. Harding comes out of that backfield over 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. Jaron, I still don't know how to pronounce your name. I do apologize. Things like the third time I've utilized Cal and still haven't figured out how to say his damn name. We're 2,700 yards passing. Raphael, over 740 yards, 11 touchdowns. Jaron has 13 touchdowns, 9 picks, so he's a little pick happy a little bit. Isaiah Smith, the big defensive end for the SMU Mustangs, has 9 sacks, so he's going to be back there disrupting things. And you see what they've done the past few weeks. I mean, yeah, SMU got shocked by Wake Forest. Wake Forest also did that to Virginia, so Wake Forest got a couple key wins for the season. I think it's one of the reasons why they're ranked in my index poll. But the overtime win against Miami, then it crushed Louisville. And then Cal just got upended by Stanford. Blown out by Stanford in the big game. Had to go OT to beat Louisville. Got 10-point loss to Virginia. Got beaten double overtime by Virginia Tech. So Cal's on the wrong end of a losing streak. And 3-1. 1-3 the past 4 games. And it's just right now Cal's on the wrong point in the season where they're stumbling, and I think they're going back into a bowl game. Because right now NLX is all over SMU, 86%. The line has it at 10.5. I see no issues with that. I think yes, SMU should go in there and at least dominate, get into the comfortable position. Party slack up a bit. Cal will come back. SMU then will just shut down the door. And then once they win that game, if Virginia wins their game, Pitt loses to Miami. It's SMU and Virginia in Charlotte, and SMU make it back to the ACC championship game. But there you go. Like I said, a huge selection, a lot of undercurrent stories between conference tie-ins, playoff resume building, possibly playoff elimination games, playoff making sure that their playoff selection validation. It's interesting. There's so many rivalry games out there that have so many placates into it. Like Notre Dame, Stanford's going to be another huge one, because I think Notre Dame loses that one, they can kiss any chance of the playoff goodbye too. I mean, that's a wild season, and will fuel the talks for possible expansion of the playoffs again, retweaking them. Maybe move up to 16, 24. I mean, it's the fun that the playoffs build also will kind of hurt the bowls too, and you have to find the balance between the two. I really do think. But I think there's too many bowls to begin with. They probably need to dwindle some of those down. Because bowls used to mean something back, 20 years ago. But that's just my old age kicking in. But let me know what you think of the 12 games I picked. What other games you think I should have talked about and put my 2 cents forward. Are you liking? Are you enjoying this football season? Do you think the season is better now that we have these 12-team playoffs? Now more games are more interesting towards the end of the season than probably would in years past. Is your team, your favorite team, in a position to possibly get into that playoff position and make a dynamic run like Ohio State and Notre Dame did last year? Drop your comments below. The more we interact, the greater the boost the YouTube algorithm. The almighty YouTube algorithm you must pay homage to, with human sacrifice to ensure our frontal cortexes are overloaded with sensations and information that we greatly need, especially in ramblings of an old man talking about football or just watching rain videos to sleep to. Top this video out. Hit that thumbs up. Greatly appreciated. Further enhance this channel in greater way for you to support it is to subscribe. A very free thing for you to do. You just smash that subscribe button, click that bell icon, and turn on notifications next time I post any more content on my channel. Now, see you next time. Chat Sports Talk.